The wedding hall in Toronto shimmered with crystal lights and soft music, but there was a quiet corner no one seemed to notice. At the very back, beside a pillar decorated with white roses, sat the CEO's daughter in a wheelchair. Her name was Emily. She was dressed beautifully, her hair carefully braided, her blue dress matching the wedding theme perfectly. Yet guests passed her by as if she were part of the furniture. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, glasses clinked, but not a single person stopped to speak to her. Emily watched it all with calm eyes that had learned, far too young, how to hide disappointment. Her father, Richard Hale, was one of Canada's most respected business leaders. Powerful, confident, admired. But as he stood near the front greeting guests, shaking hands, receiving praise, he kept glancing toward the back. Each glance hurt more than the last. He saw what others didn't see, or chose not to see. His daughter, paralyzed since a car accident 3 years ago, had become invisible in rooms like this. Richard had wealth, influence, and respect, but none of it could protect his child from being ignored. Emily remembered a time when she danced freely, when people noticed her laughter first, not her limitations. Since the accident, weddings, parties, even family gatherings felt like reminders of what she had lost. She didn't expect much anymore. Just to sit quietly, smile politely, and wait for the evening to end. Then, from across the hall, a man noticed her. Mark was a single father from Mississauga, invited to the wedding because he worked as a technician for one of Richard's companies. He wasn't important enough to be near the front. He stood by the refreshment table, holding a small plate, his mind half on the celebration and half on his son at home, whom he had raised alone since his wife passed away. Mark had learned to observe people closely. Life had taught him empathy the hard way. When his eyes met Emily's, he didn't look away. He didn't glance at the wheelchair first. He saw a young woman sitting alone at her father's proudest moment, and something in his chest tightened. He hesitated. He knew how these spaces worked. He knew people like him weren't supposed to cross certain invisible lines. But he also knew what loneliness looked like. He walked over. Emily noticed him approaching and instinctively straightened her posture. She expected the usual polite smile, the awkward hello, the quick exit. Instead, Mark crouched slightly so he was at eye level with her. "Hi," he said gently. "I'm Mark. I don't think we've met." Emily blinked, surprised. "I'm Emily. This wedding's beautiful," he said. "But it can feel pretty loud and lonely at the same time." Her lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "That's accurate." They talked. Not about her accident. Not about business. They talked about music, about how cold Canadian winters could be, about how maple syrup tasted better than people admitted. For the first time that evening, Emily laughed, a real laugh that reached her eyes. Guests nearby began to notice. Heads turned. Whispers followed. Richard saw it all. At first, his heart tightened with fear. Who was this man? Why was he speaking to his daughter? Then he saw Emily's face. The way her shoulders relaxed. The way she leaned forward, engaged. Richard felt something break open inside him. When the music slowed and couples moved to the dance floor, Mark stood up. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, without hesitation, without pity. Emily froze. Her smile faded. "I can't." "I know," he said softly. "But we still can." Before she could protest, Mark gently took her hands and began to sway beside her wheelchair, moving with the music, letting her lead the rhythm. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't dramatic. It was simple, human, and full of respect. The room went silent. People watched as the CEO's daughter, long ignored, became the heart of the wedding. Some guests wiped their eyes. Others looked down, ashamed. Richard stepped forward, tears streaming freely now, not caring who saw. When the song ended, the room erupted in applause. Emily was crying too, overwhelmed, not by sympathy, but by inclusion. Richard approached Mark, his voice trembling. "Thank you," he said. "You saw my daughter when no one else did." Mark shrugged slightly. She just needed someone to talk to. That night changed more than one life. Emily carried that moment with her as proof that she was still seen. Mark went home to his son with a story about kindness that mattered. And Richard learned that success meant nothing if compassion didn't stand beside it. Sometimes, all it takes is one voice, one step forward, one human moment, to remind the world that no one should ever feel invisible.